Perfect. Hey guys, my name's Dylan, part of Tesla Energy. I work on specifically the Megapack projects. So we build just a high level quickly about where I work, what I do. So I'm sure a lot of people know Tesla, cars, Elon, robots now, AI, all that stuff. But a big unsung hero of our company is Tesla Energy. And one of the biggest products we make is the Megapack. And that's industrial grade battery storage systems that we utilize throughout. So in that, I work here in Lathrop, California, which is home of the Mega Factory where we build the Megapack. Specifically, I'm a senior process engineer focusing on power electronics assembly. So if you have any other questions at the end about that, more than happy to field those as well. But as Diana mentioned, the focus of this meeting, what we're going to be talking about is tips on networking. So how can you kind of present yourself in the best way when you're meeting new people, new companies, at events, all this good stuff, and how to kind of, show your best self and put your best foot forward. So we'll kind of dive right into it. I like to make my slides a little bit fun, just have some, funny photos and stuff like that. High level though, I think truthfully speaking, a lot of you guys know these core skills that you kind of have just kind of developed, growing up, being with friends, family, etc. It's just how do you kind of always try to apply those in a more professional environment or workplace settings, those sort of things. So kind of going into it, some of the overviews that we'll be talking about. So networking, right? You want to really drive your authenticity and confidence in networking. And what are the key like things that I've kind of identified in terms of networking is sort of 5 things. One is what gets in the way. What blocks you from being able to network efficiently? Maybe other things that often trip people up, and how we kind of can work to make it better. 2, practice makes perfect. I think a lot of us, watch sports, obviously in classes, homework is like a big part of it, tests, all that good stuff. Without practicing, you're never going to get good at it. And, how do we continue to get better is kind of a challenge, and then kind of some ideas that I'll throw out that can help people. 3 is your elevator pitch, right? So career fairs are a big part of the college experience, and how do you make yourself stand out in about, on average 2 minutes, right? So what are key things that even when I go to career fair events, when I'm recruiting, when I'm interviewing, what are the key things that I look for in individuals to be able to stand out and, kind of show a memorable aspect of it? 4 is understanding the market. And what I mean by that is, the professional world is so wide and so diverse that I often think people, even like I'm from Tesla, right? Big company, big name, all that good stuff. But the world itself, and I didn't start at Tesla, is super diverse, right? There's a lot of opportunities there. And part of the challenge is honestly understanding what you're trying to go for and how to go there as well. The last point, I think even Diana mentioned it for you guys' upcoming career fair, right? You want to be able to dress like professionally. And that varies, right? Conferences and stuff like that. A lot of people wear like blue blazers and stuff like that. Career fairs, maybe you want to wear a suit and tie. It's more so how you want to present yourself in a proper way. And then at the end, I just hope to kind of close up, mention some of the opportunities we have even at Tesla, and just open the floor to Q&A. Throughout, if anybody has any questions, feel free, I guess, type in the chat, even like unmute and just say like, hey, I have a question. More than happy to answer them as we're going along. It's more of an open discussion than like a formal presentation, so open to whatever on that front. Okay, so to get started, what gets in the way? I think we all have nerves, right? When you're taking a test, when you're presenting like right now, public speaking, all that good stuff, right? Nerves are what goes in the way, gets in the way, and it only can go away from not winging it, right? And how do you prevent winging it? You have to start practicing. It's the only way to really get around it. And when I say practicing, there's a bajillion different ways. Talking to a mirror, talking to friends, talking to like professional guidance counselors, those sort of things, right? You have these resources in universities that can help. A lot of you guys are in clubs, right? Even when I was in college, I was in clubs. Maybe try to organize events with your other club members about like, mock interview nights, those sort of things. Even just like discussions that come out, a lot of the your club members may have interned at other companies and stuff like that, and so they already, I think, would have a natural sense of, what it comes in terms of, talking to people and kind of handling nerves, which we all have. Another key thing I think is disbelief. A lot of people tend to think like you're not a good public speaker. I think even from like an engineering perspective, I think it's a kind of cliche that engineers aren't social, whatever the case is, right? What I truly think that comes from is just a lack of confidence, right? And how do you build that confidence? Confidence is made when you know yourself. And what I mean by that is like, you know what you can bring to the table, you know what skills you offer, what assets you offer. And then also the other aspect is also knowing the audience, right? You don't want to, I think everybody has that fear of saying the wrong thing, right? But how do you combat saying the wrong thing? Well, it's knowing, what the company is, what they value, what skills they're looking for, what type of person they're trying to find. Knowing that naturally makes you more confident because the discussion will naturally progress and not have these awkward moments of like, oh, hey, do you know this XYZ thing? Well, instead of saying like nobody wants to say no, right? So instead of saying no, how do you progress from that? Another big thing is time. We all have to budget. We all have busy schedules. We all have to make sort of time for that. So the best advice I could give with that is, look at your schedule, look high level, like what are your priorities are for the week, and then see like, okay, maybe I can spend, 20 minutes for this, 15 minutes for this, that sort of aspect, and move on from there. Yeah, so that's kind of the first point of what usually gets in the way from being able to network efficiently and network in a broader sense, kind of better. The next thing, just keeping it very simple, is practice makes perfect. But I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen The Office. Troy, he's a very funny guy, but he'll always come back at you with like this witty remark. And it practice, nobody's perfect. Practice can only make you better, right? Even the people that you're talking to, right? I would, even when I went to career fairs as a university student, I was always nervous. Everybody has nerves. The only way you can get better is social events, friends, family, especially like clubs and those sort of aspects, because a lot of your club members are like-minded individuals. They'll understand what you're talking about and be able to give you like truthfully honest feedback, right? You do want honest feedback, and that's how you can improve. Even at Tesla, like we're pretty open on like, if ideas are not the most efficient, they're wrong, like people will call it out, right? But those are people you trust, right? They're not, doing it maliciously or anything like that. They want the betterment of for yourself and for, whatever you're working on. So having that like inner circle of key people to practice with, that's how you get better. And also, a big thing about making practice better is, at these career fair events, at these other companies, you may not, target like a certain amount of companies, right? Let's say, for example, you're, I don't know, let's say like a CS major, right? Or something that's like pure software. And there's a bunch of other companies, and maybe one company is like a food and beverage company, right? Maybe you want to go to that food and beverage company first and actually talk to them. Sure, you may not come out with like there's a perfect role or fit for you, but what that does is it takes time for you to get familiar with the event, get used to what we'll talk about next, your elevator pitch, get used to speaking to, random people, right? And try to make an impact on them. And who knows, like that food and beverage company may actually have a role somewhere in the country that actually, has a need for a CS person, and you might actually make that connection. And that kind of will go into the last point that we'll talk about is understanding the market. But, high level, what I've seen, even from, working here at Tesla, doing career fair events, recruiting, interviewing people, is like you only get better by just doing it over and over again. And I think that's a skill that, applies anywhere, sports, etc. So it kind of echoes and embodies networking as well. Going on to the elevator pitch, right? So elevator pitch historically comes from like if you're in an elevator ride, like how do you make your impact in like basically 30 seconds to a minute, right? Most of people in this audience are probably, university students looking at career fairs, other events, right? So naturally speaking, you may not be, obviously a 10-year seasoned veteran in the industry, right? So how do you, tailor your elevator pitch to kind of show the things that are, impactful to you right now and what drives you, and your skills as well. So I just kind of typed out some examples. Obviously, you want to start off with your name, introduce yourself. Um, Year and major definitely help. The reason I say this is even when I'm at recruiting events or other aspects, right? I need to know, are you going to be able, are you graduating next year? When are you graduating, right? For full-time roles, are you a third year? Then that naturally pushes you into like an internship aspect, right? And that's where it comes into the third bullet point is like what you're interested in. And that comes also back to the first point about knowing the customer, knowing your person. You have to do some research, right? You need to understand what roles are present, what opportunities are in general there, so that if this is like, a company that you're really interested about, really looking at, it shows that you've done the research, you've done some basic understanding. One of the things I like to bring up is like, and it was kind of funny is in January we did kind of a event. We went around a bunch of UCs. We stopped by UCSB, and one of the questions we asked was how many people knew about like Tesla Energy and the Megapack. And usually I would only get like 3 or 4 hands, right? That's where like if you've done the research, if you looked a little bit ahead, that's what can help you, drive yourself to make impact, show your, kind of self as knowledgeable. And that's what would make me remember like, oh, this person actually, knows about what we're doing, knows about what we're trying to do. So that's kind of the importance there. Then it kind of goes into what can you bring to the table that will make me interested about you, right? So where have I done impact, right? And the impact at the college level varies throughout, right? Clubs, extracurriculars, internships, maybe like even volunteer research. Those are the key things. But what I often see a lot of people talk about is, what they did, right? For example, I can take it for example, like basketball, because we all have a general sense of that, right? If you describe to me that every week you practiced 100 free throws, right? That's just showing what you did, but what the impact would be like, okay, your free throw percentage now in games is like 99%. That's what I'd want to see, right? Showing the impact is what shows people that, hey, you did a task. Because I think most people will do a task when they're asked. It's, can you actually describe to me what impact you've made? Have you made it beneficial for yourself, whether it be for a club or engineering org, whether it be for like an internship or even job experience. That's what actually makes you look stronger and knows that you actually know your skills and work that you've done inside and out. And then you want to show that you've kind of incorporated that research, right? Let's say you're applying for a basketball job, right? Or something like that. I've done all this free throw work so that I can become an NBA player or a WNBA player. Like I can work towards those things and like, make that impact. That's where the elevator pitch needs to kind of wrap it up and bundle it up is the stuff that you've done, show the impact, and then show how it relates to whoever you're talking to as well. All right. So one of the last points I wanted to talk about is knowing the market. What we mean by that is you are selling yourself, so you want to know what they want. You can't, in general, go to a company blind because the conversation naturally will close to an end. So like if you came up to me and you said Tesla and we did like oil and gas, for example, right? It's kind of the opposite. And there wouldn't be much room for any conversation. But I will say, for example, if you came up to me and said, I have experience in oil and gas, etc., but I know my experience with, refining processes can be applied to you guys' new lithium refinery in Corpus Christi, Texas, right? All of a sudden now I'm going to be very interested because you know things about the company and you're already trying to apply your skills or apply what you've learned to an aspect of the company. But for example, oil and gas is still the opposite of our industry, but skills and knowledge apply across industries as well. So that's where you really want to sell yourself, but you can only sell yourself by knowing what they want. Also, a big thing, I experienced it. I think every professional has experienced it, and if they didn't, I'd be surprised. Rejection is going to happen, and you just honestly, you just need to keep on moving on and not make it a burden. And also, a point about rejection is it may happen right now, but that doesn't mean in 2 years you can apply again. Maybe there's a different role that applies more with your skill sets and those sort of aspects. People move around, when you're in your career and moving throughout. So how do you keep on moving forward? Just not dwelling on those rejection aspects. Another thing that Ivy, she wasn't here, she wasn't able to make it today, but she would have really pushed this is rejection is just a redirection. So you don't want to limit yourself to just a few big name companies. Even myself, when I started out of my career out of college, I didn't go to a big name company as well. And big companies have opportunities, but small companies can also have huge opportunities as well to show your impact, to make a big change to the firm or company, and actually drive that. And I just kind of Googled these numbers offhand to show like everybody knows the S&P 500, big companies, but honestly, like if I asked you the S&P 500, we'd probably only be able to list off like the top 50 off the top of your head, maybe. I know I couldn't. And then there's all the other rest, right, in the S&P 500. And then outside of that, there's like 5,000 firms with greater than 1 billion in revenue and over 100K businesses in the US with like greater than 10 million in revenue. That's a lot of money and a lot of impact. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. And, I know career fairs naturally have a limitation in the amount of, people that show up, etc. So, throughout the career fair, though, I think you should look at it like holistically and see what truly opportunities companies have. And another aspect of that is maybe those companies give you ideas to, then start Googling and finding other aspects or other companies that, may have similarities and that may intrigue you as well. So that's kind of where that aspect comes into. Um, just to kind of flip the script, Ivy, who's one of our other program managers here, she couldn't make the meeting, but she wanted to kind of go over this LinkedIn post that she talked about. So let me open it up and see if it will load real quick. Um, but it kind of goes to show some of the unique aspects for women in engineering. I'll try to do my best to quote her words, but Ivy, for example, she's here at the Mega Factory. She coordinates all of our logistics side with all of our customer facing aspects. So she's the one dealing with when the customer comes and is looking to buy, like $1 billion project. She's the one who's trying to sell the project to the factory, right? And show she's the public facing person, and she essentially is a networking master because she networks with companies every day, tries to get new projects into the factory to sell the Megapack. And there's a lot of value riding on these projects. So one of the things she picked up on previously at her different company as well was she was in the trucking and logistics field. And obviously that is a very male dominated industry, right? So these were some of the things that she highlighted at these conference events where you're just essentially meeting a bunch of people. So it's like the definition of networking. So high level, like paraphrasing for number one thing she pointed out is for women, they have the ability to actually be differentiated even through the pool of people. One of the quotes I like that she mentioned in this is set yourself apart from a sea of blue blazers, which is very funny because if you've ever been into any, professional conference, it really actually is a sea of blue blazers, which is, if I was running a booth or something like that, I would probably see 90% blue blazers, and then like the people who actually differentiate themselves are the ones that are going to be memorable. I think paraphrasing her point number two is, how do you make yourself memorable? I think, the conversations that she was able to have with people actually made her like more memorable at the event and led to more opportunities as well. Point number three that she mentioned is, men and women usually have different personalities and sort of how we interact with people. And I think one of the key points that she was mentioning is, being the minority can be a benefit when you actually try to capitalize on it. So how do you make yourself more impactful and like drive those aspects? Authenticity, you know, people have their own way of discussing as well. Also, like she mentions right here, most efficient elevator pitch, et cetera, et cetera. But 70% of it comes from like body language, how you present yourself, how you actually, talk to people. You don't want to try to like fake it, because a lot of people in industry have, tuned themselves to understand when it's real and when it's not. When you go into industry, there will be that person who will say, like, I've been at this factory for 30 years. I know everything in and out of it, right? How do you actually like sell yourself to that person when they actually know everything about, their company, their process, their project, whatever they're working on? That's a key aspect as well. And then lastly, one of the key things that you want to do is like actively listen, right? You don't want to, nod off, not pay attention, act like you're disengaged. Even when you're at career events and, talking to the recruiter, right? You want to be engaged. You want to try to, pull their attention the whole time so that, you are memorable and they do come back to you and want to talk to you even further as well. Um, but yeah, I'll share contact information later on to Diana, and hopefully she can share it out as well. But more than happy to connect after as well. Let me go back to the presentation, and then I will open up the last slide real quick. Sorry. It's a little funny, but oops. The last slide is you obviously want to dress professionally. You want to be able to present yourself in a way that makes you, look the part essentially. Obviously, you don't want to come in with like bed head in shorts and a t-shirt and all that. And truthfully speaking, there's a lot of ways to dress professionally depending on the industry. If you're looking at a career in like finance and those sort of aspects, a lot of the dress code will be like, suit and tie, those sort of aspects. But, even in a lot of like engineering firms, proper shoes and maybe like a blazer and stuff like that can work, honestly. So it's kind of knowing what industry you're targeting and what the general, dress code really is for that. But you want to be able to show that you're able to, work in that environment as well. Yeah, so those were the main slides I have, and what I wanted to go over at least. So I think we're at like 12:28, so halfway. And yeah, I kind of wanted to open it up to, Q&A discussions, if anybody has any questions about that. And also at the end, maybe talk about some opportunities we have at Tesla as well. But yeah, thanks again for everybody kind of listening in on this. And yeah, more than happy to field any questions.
Thank you for this, Dylan. Yeah, and I would encourage you students to start asking some questions, because you've got a great resource right here who wants to share with you all kinds of information. So sometimes we have a quiet group, sometimes we have lots of questions.
No worries. Yeah.
We'll give students a few minutes. And you can either come off on screen or put something in the chat, whatever is most comfortable for you all. We do have a quiet group today.
Don't be shy.
Well, do you want to share out information about Tesla, and maybe people, if they
Yeah.
have questions, they can throw it in the chat?
Yeah, I think yeah, just to kind of like go full circle again. We're here with like Tesla Energy, and we make the Mega Pack, which is like an industrial energy storage product. So Tesla Mega Factory here in Lathrop. We also have a new factory coming in Houston, and we're hiring a bunch of people on full-time roles. I didn't get a chance to post all the links, and maybe after the meeting, Diana, I'll send you some roles that we're looking for as well. But we're actively hiring. The energy business is growing year over year, at a ridiculous pace, and the only way we can keep it up is by getting more and more people to help support the expansion that we're doing. So yeah, More than happy to answer any questions about that. I know I didn't get a chance. I was actually curious what sort of backgrounds a lot of the students are. I saw Logan is like financial math and stats. I'm not sure if anybody else dropped their backgrounds, but yeah, I think even if you're maybe not engineering focused, I think Tesla is a huge company and there's a lot of different roles that can apply throughout. So yeah.
You had a question. Hand raised. Do you want to come off mute? What? Okay. So Dylan, answer me this. Are you guys actively using LinkedIn to recruit students? And is that a place that you would, suggest students go to network professionally and find opportunities?
Yeah, I would say so Tesla being a bigger company has like a full recruitment team. And one of the things they do is they do utilize LinkedIn as a tool to find people. Obviously, applying to roles is like already putting you in our internal system. So that's one key aspect as well. But yeah, I think we use LinkedIn throughout. I think a big part about networking is also you build connections, you build repertoire with people, and they're able to connect you with the right person, right? For example, when we did that recruiting event for a bunch of UCs down south, we took all those resumes and we were able to talk directly with the recruiter for the roles and be like, hey, I really want to talk to this person again. I really want to look at this person again. So going to these events, going to actually talk to company people, it kind of like shoots you in front of the queue kind of aspect of like, reviewing resumes, finding people. And that's definitely a key aspect to help and any company, I would say.
Right, I agreed. So we do have one question in the chat. Patrick asks, what's the best way to gauge a company's culture slash vibe before coming to an event in person?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think um it's funny enough, like social media, YouTube, like videos about the company, what they're trying to like do is maybe like a good aspect of it. I think, you know, I remember like always looking up like about the company if they're really big, right? You maybe like you find like Reddit posts or stuff like that just to kind of get an understanding. But truthfully speaking, the best way is if you're able to, connect with somebody at the company already and they have a couple of minutes to actually talk about it, they'll give you the most honest and instant feedback of what it's like to work at the company, what it is maybe day to day, what sort of things are challenging, what sort of things are good. Um, but honestly, a big aspect also is like in general, even I would say, like coming from other companies previously to Tesla, working in the like professional environment, whether it be engineering, whether finance, whatever the case is, right? The industry tends to trend in similar aspects, and you start picking up on those things, and there's only slight deviations. And a big thing I would also say when you're working is it's more so the people you're working with and the environment that your like local team is versus like the whole company itself that drives your day-to-day satisfaction, your day-to-day of how you interact. So that's what I would say is definitely how you can maybe try to gauge aspects about a company.
Okay. I've also read in Glassdoor, if people are familiar with that particular resource, you can kind of get different insights on companies, like, what kind of questions they ask in their interviews and that kind of thing, which doesn't answer this exact question, but it can sort of infer things. So that might be an interesting place to gather additional information too.
Yeah, I think um, interview questions tend to vary from like interviewer to interviewer in general, unless the company has like a standard set of questions. And maybe that's what the Glassdoor can help figure out. But for example, like when you interview at Tesla, they don't tell us any like, oh, you need to ask XYZ questions. What they try to do, which I actually think is the most efficient way, is you get a panel of people who you'd be working with, right, on a day-to-day basis. And what you're trying to gauge is like, will I be able to work with this person? Will they be able to contribute effectively? And that can only happen with like asking questions that truly affect what they'll be working on, what they'll be involved in. And I think the best way to be able to answer that is to really know yourself very well, inside and out, because to a certain extent, a lot of stuff is learned in the industry, like when you're actually working in an environment and you pick up on aspects. But what I can always question people on is their resume, their aspects, and gauge how well they really know themselves and what they're really talking about as well.
Any other questions, students? I want to add one thing about this upcoming career fair, and this is related to networking, but I think students need to think about the fact that these employers are coming to UCSB because they want to talk to you. So hopefully that will take away some of the fear you might have about coming up and introducing yourself and that kind of thing, because I work with employers every single day and they love UCSB students and they want access to you students. So you're going to a career fair, you're fulfilling the goal of the employer. So hopefully that makes you feel like they want to hear from you, they really do, and they're gonna help you and give you good information and be supportive of you. They're not here to like be mean or not listen to you. They want to know what you're all about. Oh,
Yeah,
we
I
have
think
another question too.
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
Gia asked that question. And I think it's exactly what you're talking about is what can help feeling intimidated is honestly like the way I look at it is like at one point I was in the same shoes like you guys were, right? Not working in industry for X amount of years and stuff like that. And I think every recruiter kind of knows that, right? And I think what the biggest thing, and it goes back to what I said before, is if you know yourself very well, you truly can answer probably every question they ask because truthfully speaking, asking random like questions that are like super technical probably doesn't get you the reality of the what the person is because at the end of the day, a lot of skill sets you learn as you're working, um, and from that you take it's how well you can actually apply those learnings, apply real world application, and that's what I look for, right? So the only way I can find those things is understanding what you put on your resume and asking about those things, and if you're able to respond well, if you're able to answer follow-up questions well about whatever you're talking about, and that's how I tend to see it. But truthfully speaking, like the intimidation might be both ways, right? Because when a company comes, like Diana was saying, we're trying to find people, right? And we want to find people, and it's also our job to be engaging as well and talk to everybody and understand everybody as well, so it kind of goes both ways. But I think intimidation also, and what I kind of mentioned before, the more and more you talk to people, the less and less it becomes intimidating, because truthfully speaking, it is a very similar thing every single time you talk to a company. The only slight twist you have to do is understand what the company you're talking to is specifically focusing on, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing.
And I think it keys right back on what you said earlier about understanding the market and getting to know the company that you're going to be talking to. Because then you can sort of connect the dots. Why are
Exactly.
you talking to me? Because, oh, now I get it. You have an interest in what we're doing. You have a little bit of experience. You've
Yep.
studied it. That knowledge is power kind of thing works really well. I mean, it is
Yep.
applicable.
And you'd be surprised at what 5 minutes of Googling about a company can help guide your elevator pitch conversation for 2 minutes. Like, like truthfully speaking, like you could spend 30 minutes before a career fair and probably Google all the companies and get like two or three tidbits out of each company that would guide your like elevator pitch. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Plug for the career fair. Get on Handshake. All the list of the companies and organizations are all there. You could do exactly what Dylan is suggesting right from
I mean,
Handshake.
that's what I used to do. I guess a little bit of background about myself. I forgot to mention this. So I went to the UC system. I went to UCLA. I'm actually born and raised in California as well. So I went from 2017 to 2021, and I remember doing the same thing of like the career fairs coming up, looking on Handshake, seeing who's there, being interested in talking to all these people. So, and I would just, do like 3 or 4 minutes of quick Googling about the company just to get a good idea of what they're all about. And yeah,
Awesome.
my plug, I guess, is yeah, if you are interested in Tesla or anything like that, you can go to the Tesla Careers website. We have all of our roles posted there. And if you're interested in like energy or Megapack, once I share my contact information, feel free to connect, and I'm more than happy to talk about it as well.